I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Hewish, would you please lead us in the invocation?
Thank you. Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful to live in this beautiful community we call home. Father, we're grateful for the blessings of freedom that we experience in our life and for those fine young men and women in uniform that protect those freedoms each and every day. Please bless them and watch over them and keep them safe. Father, we're grateful for the many citizens of this community that give of their time and volunteer and to make our home a better place to live. We also, Father, ask a special blessing this evening upon those that have cause to mourn, who have lost loved ones, and those that are suffering the pains of and discomforts of the physical body. Please bless them and heal them and give them comfort. Father, we ask thy blessings to be with us tonight and bless our community. In the holy name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
Mrs. Morales?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions just to verify that it's you. And if you can say your name, please.
Margaret Morales,
And your passcode.
031120W1.
And your location.
Marana, Arizona?
And is anybody else with you?
No.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Robert Uribe. Mayor Pro Tempore Mitch Lindemann.
Present.
Councilmember Margaret Morales.
Present.
Councilmember Donald Hewish.
Here.
Councilmember Ray Shelton. Councilmember Cesar Soto.
Here.
Councilmember Jose Grijalva.
Here.
City Manager Doreen Watson. Here. City Attorney Juan Pablo Flores.
Present.
City Treasurer Luis Pedrosa.
Present.
And Mr. Mayor Pro Tempore, just for the record, we have Councilmember Morales electronically, and we have Councilmember Ray Shelton and Mayor Uribe excused.
Thank you very much. Item number 5, persons wishing to address the council in writing or verbally on any item not on the agenda.
Yes, we do have 3.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Michael Gomez.
I'm Dr. Michael Gomez, 2350 12th Street. I just want to reiterate about the port of entry. It's been in Facebook, and I guess the council agrees, that I think the mayor and whoever else, that we've never been closer to a port of entry than we are now. And the only thing we have is possibly a soil test. That's all I hear. Is there anything else? The manager promised me that they would have a feasibility study last August. So why are we keeping the public in the dark? We've never been so close to a port of entry. That's all we've heard. And the council goes along with it, I guess. I don't know what the manager is going to say now. She doesn't have to say anything, but who knows? Nobody knows. But we are closer than ever to a port of entry.
Thank you. Arlene Morales.
My name's Arlene Morales, 2380 West Highway 80. Reason I'm here is because I tried to vote yesterday, and I was told that I could not vote.
Sit on.
I don't know how to turn it on. Can you hear me? I was here, well, yesterday, the day before, and I was trying to vote because I had called, I didn't get a ballot. I called the person in charge in Bisbee, and they told me I needed to come down here on the 10th so I could vote. So I come down here, and they tell me I'm not eligible to vote because of where I live. I was born and raised here, pay my taxes, shop here, my kids go to school here, so I'm being taxed and I can't vote. So I need to know why.
We can't have a conversation, but I'm sure that the attorney or the city manager can tell you the reason.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, if we can officially direct staff to let her know, please, and let us know what the problem was also.
Tanya Duarte.
Good evening, council members. My name is Tanya Duarte. I'm a Douglas Ward 2 resident. Last night, the residents of Douglas united together to show the world that we need change. We showed that we can be united and show to everyone here that we residents do not approve of how the majority of mayor and council are trying to lead our much-loved home. We no longer sit quietly and allow you to silence and divide us. We no longer tolerate corruption and hidden agendas. The mayor might not care, but we do, and we have proven that we will overcome and succeed. We, the residents of Douglas, Arizona, have spoken with our votes. Even after all this, I must thank you. I thank you for being the last straw, the straw that showed us that our burden was too great, that we can no longer bear the weight of allowing what has been happening to continue. Your attempts to divide us has only united us for a greater cause, which is ethics and integrity. Those will come back to the city of Douglas, and this house will be clean. I also want to thank the citizens of Douglas for uniting and voting the right way. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6, presentation of awards. Mr. Grijalva.
I know it's usually down there, but I want everybody to hear. Last month, I was gonna present an award to one individual, but again, the staff, and rightfully so, advised that we should thank the whole department. This is for the water division of the employees. For the last few months, we've been having problems with our water. You know, we've had valves break, you know, and water problems. And these individuals, like City Manager Watson said, they are our first responders. She has made me appreciate more what every employee does. And if it wasn't for these individuals, you know, you wouldn't be able to turn on your shower or drink water, tap water, or whatever it might be. You know, that's how important these individuals are. And they work so hard. You know, when Damian Dorame and I went to Benson, went to the city manager and mayor's lunch, and we got a call that, you know, they needed a valve. Can you go to Tucson? And I mean, the workers there, when they called us, they were ready to work. It wasn't, you know, just call us when you're in town. When we got into town, they were already waiting for us. And it's that type of commitment, that type of hard work that we need to appreciate, because a lot of the times employees just, they mail it in, but none of our employees do that, and it's time that we recognize them for their hard work. I also wanted to recognize a few local businesses. I wanted to recognize Verizon. Now, all these are first-hand accounts. I have my phone bill with Verizon, but what I see there when I go pay my bill, it makes it stand out. The customer service that they provide. There's many times I've gone there and I've seen their employees go the extra mile. You know, if an individual doesn't know how to work their phone or they're not used to a smartphone, they'll help them out. If they need to call someplace, they'll do it for them. You know, that's the kind of customer service that we should be appreciating in Douglas, so it could rub off on everybody. They are the standard and example. I also wanted to give a certificate to 5-Star Cleaners. As you all know, I don't really dress in a lot of suits a lot of the times, but when I do, I sure do look good. And one of the reasons why is the quality of service that I get from 5-Star Cleaners. They're always very, they take very much pride in their work. They do it in a quick amount of time, and they're always, again, appreciative of their customers. So I wanted to honor all three of them and recognize them. If they could come up, please, Verizon, 5-Star Cleaners, and also our water department. Robert Encina. So again, if you see hardworking individuals out there, he's one of them. Let me. Did you want with all of them?
Yeah, let's just do all of them together.
Verizon, and I also wanted to mention, they also want to help out the community. They have a fundraising program where they sell pop sockets. If you're a nonprofit, I mean, go to them. They'll help you out. It's for $14 for every $14 that they sell. The club and the individuals, they keep $11. So they're not looking to make a profit. They're looking to help out our community. And also 5-Star Cleaners, again, I don't dress in suits. I'm not dressing in one right now, but when I do, it's this individual that's the thing. I'm going to decide.
Let's get over, we're okay. Not that big of a group tonight. So, trying to come up a little bit on this side. There we go. Couple shots here, please. Let's do. One more. Thank you.
Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grijalva. And thank you to the businesses that honored tonight and the workers, and you all do a wonderful job, and we certainly appreciate all you do. Item number 7. Excuse me. Discussion decision on approval of consent agenda items. May I have a
Mr.
motion?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes, Councilwoman Morales.
yes, I move that mayor and council approve consent agenda items as follows. Expenditures for the month of February 2020 totaling $1,961,742.18. Approval of meeting minutes for January 27th and February 12th, 2020. And contract award to Kimley Horn for engineer/consultant services for the airport runway reconstruction project.
Second.
We can have a discussion on that? Yeah.
I seconded.
Yeah.
So Mayor Pro Temp, I'd like to move the letter C, the contract award to Kimley Horn for engineer and consultant services for the airport runway reconstruction project on its own item,
Okay.
and to approve A and B together.
Okay, so we've got a motion on the floor to approve A and B and a second. Any discussion? Roll call?
Councilmember Morales?
Yes.
Councilmember Hewish?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore?
Yes. Motion carries.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I could, with reference to item C, that was removed from the consent agenda, so at this time, we'd like to maybe get some information regarding that item for presentation to council from Mr. Pedrosa, if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes. Mr. Mendoza?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. The reason we wanted to put this item on its own is because there were recent developments as to the receipt of the grant. This contract itself would be funded by the grant in item number 11. So there were, we sent out an email as we got the news about the grant. So the city is being offered a $1.8 million grant with a 10% match from ADOT Aeronautics to do a reconstruction of the runway. The way that ADOT guided us to apply for this grant was a 2-phase grant, which increased our chances to basically get the grant. The total cost to reconstruct the runway is $3.1 million. By splitting it up into phases, it would increase the chances to get that funding, since it's very limited funds that they get allocated every year. So we were awarded the first phase at 1.8 million. Second phase, we applied for 1.3. We were told just recently that we will not have access to the $1.3 million next year. We would only have access to about $500,000. So with that in mind, it will not pay for the full reconstruction through the grant. We would need to come up with about $1,030,000 from city funds in order to pay for this project, something that the city currently does not have. So in light of these events, we talked to our consultants and let them know what are other options to pursue. One other option is to do a different rehabilitation on the runway as opposed to a reconstruction, which entails possible milling, compaction, and overlay of the runway. So we're posing that to ADOT to see if it gets approved. So at this point, we are at basically we can either approve this grant, and possibly the city could be faced with coming up with $1 million to reconstruct, or we can table this item for future consideration and get more information from ADOT to see if we have other alternatives to be able to fund this project and still rehabilitate the runway. As far as our recommendation is tonight is to table these two items for both the contract and the grant to further get the approvals needed from ADOT.
Mayor Pro
Thank you,
Tem.
Mr. Mendoza.
So Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes, Mr. Yush.
I have a question, and I know because once we make a motion to table, we can't discuss, and so do we have a deadline on when we need to accept this grant? Or have we already accepted it and it's there for our using over the next year or whatever?
Councilmember Hughes, our deadline was April 5th, but we talked to ADOT today, and we told them that if we can have an extra month to consider that, they had no problem with that, considering the circumstances. So that extension has been requested and granted, so we are able to approve it in the next regular council meeting, or consider it for approval.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, follow
Mr.
up
Yush.
if I could. We have some citizens that are extra invested into the airport and have much history out there. I would love to see that they were consulted and asked and see at least what their opinions are. The consultants may come back and may be cost prohibitive, and then we have to make a harder decision to do that. But I just would like to have the public know and to see where we're at, to see what the options are, how long option A is going to last us, how long option B, C, etc.
That's a good question, Mr. Hirsch, and we can speak on that. And I'd like to get our consultants on the phone if they can touch on that. The involvement that went on with this project was through the 2017 master plan, where we got community stakeholders to participate in what the airport needs were and how we can develop the airport into an economic engine, per se. We had various stakeholder meetings. We developed a group of these citizens. They provided their input, and the master plan was developed. Their biggest request was to reconstruct the runway, and the master plan reflects that. And really, it's a reconstruction that was recommended, not necessarily a rehabilitation, because we knew going into it that that's the biggest bang for our buck to do that. Unfortunately, that's really expensive for us to take on, and basically the funding sources for this type of improvements have recently dried up. And we were actually very fortunate to get $1.8 million, and $500,000 next year is really, no airport in the state is able to say this. So yes, the involvement is there. Yes, runway is our recommendation. Rehabilitation, however, will not give us the extended life that we would like, but it would put the airport in the conditions that it is right now of deterioration. back into a state of use, that it can be safe to utilize. So that's basically where we stand.
Mr. Grijalva?
Answer my question.
And Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I
Yes.
believe that someone's on the line on that. Good afternoon.
Steve,
Hi, hi. This is Steve Reeder. I'm with Kimley Horn and was listening into the request.
Steve, is there anything that you can touch on as far as the useful life of a rehabilitation versus a full reconstruction? Is there anything you can talk about that?
Sure. The reconstruction should bring the pavement back to a 25-year lifespan, which is what is required by the FAA, whereas a rehabilitation is more likely going to be 7 to 10 years worth of remaining life. Right now, the runway condition is about a 35 PTI, which is really low, and typically you would have to have a reconstruction to move forward with that.
Okay,
Could I ask a question?
yes, Mr. Johnson.
Steve, could you let the group know what you get for 1.8 million versus what the extra 1.3 would add? Can you do parts of it fully reconstructed, or does it all have to be done one way?
You could do the center portion as a reconstruction, and then maybe rehabilitate the edges. I wouldn't recommend that. I think a full reconstruction is really needed for the condition of the airport right now, of the runway. So right now, the 3.1 million, that would get you a full reconstruction. The rehabilitation, which would be mill off all the existing asphalt, recompact the base, and then put a new asphalt surface on it. We're hoping that we could do that for the 1.6 plus the 500,000 that ADOT's talking about. But right now, construction prices are moving around quite a bit, so it's difficult to tell if that's actually going to be enough to get the complete work done.
Mr. Yurich?
So Mayor Pro Tem, I just want to make sure that we're in line with our agenda. And it's okay, I know we have a later item number 11. Are we going too far with this item, or are we okay?
Flores?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilman Hughes, I think we're okay with the presentation. This one.
In that case, Mr. Steve, if I may, Mayor. Mr. Steve, is there any other funding sources out there that you're aware of?
There's FAA funding sources, which the airport isn't open for since it's not in the NIPIAS program. So ADOT is really your main source of funding for these type of projects. This last year, legislation went through where the fund was given an extra $10 million, and that is actually the main source for the grant that you got last year. That is possible to be renewed this next year. If that happens, it's more likely that you get the 500,000 and then they use the rest of the fund for other airports. So this really is the best funding source that I'm aware of.
If I may, one more.
One more?
So this is understanding that staff's going to go out and look for any possibilities of discretionary funds, of all that to bridge the gap from the 500 to the 1.3. Is that what I'm hearing and what I'm understanding?
Mr. Councilmember Hewish, we, at this point, we do need to accept the grant and let ADOT know what we're going to do with that money. So we either need to tell them that we'll come up with $1.03 million in matching funds to do a reconstruction, or we need to reassess those funds to say we're gonna do a rehabilitation project. So in accepting that, we need to have some formal plan, and the ADOT needs to approve that.
And we have the leeway of the April meeting.
Yes.
I entertain a motion to table this a little one extra time.
If I may say something really quick,
Go ahead.
since, ADOT is really the focal point here, I think we need to be very obvious with the fact that we need to reach out to ADOT, and I think that's been we've done as a council, a very poor job of it. When City Manager Watson and Councilmember Lindemann and I went to the ADOT meeting in Bisbee, they had people from Nogales there complaining about the roads. And we need to be more represented in that meeting, telling them our story, telling them how much we need the money. We just can't, be popping up every random meeting and saying, hey, we need money for this. We need to keep hammering it home so they could understand the importance. Just wanted to say that.
May I have a motion to table?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to table item C.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call. Mr.
Mayor
Williams?
Pro Tem, just want to encourage council to consider the item being tabled, as we really don't want to put our finance folks in kind of a pickle to go out and commit them to $1 million plus tonight without him having an opportunity to earmark and figure out where the money's going to be coming from. So I think it's prudent that we table it, we go back to the drawing board and let them configure a new plan so we can get this done.
Thank you. Roll call.
Do we have to amend them?
Do we have to amend our motion? Motion is to table.
Table will be fine.
Councilmember Morales?
Excuse me, so you're tabling the item? Is that, because it's kind of hard to hear.
Yes, Mrs. Morales, it will be to table item number C until the April council meeting.
Okay, yes, then, yes.
Councilmember Hewitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore?
Yes. Item C is tabled. Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Item 8. Discussion decision on approval of first reading ordinance number 20-1116, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, levying upon the assessed valuation of the property within the city of Douglas, subject to taxation, a certain rate upon each $100 of valuation sufficient to raise the amount estimated to be required in the annual budget, and providing funds for general municipal expenses, all for the fiscal year ending the 30th day of June 2021, establishing severability of components of ordinance, and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Pedrosa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. Every year, as we prepare for budget season, per state statute, we approve the primary property tax levy for the city of Douglas. This year, the assessed valuations went up. This is the second year in a row that we've seen assessed valuation go up. They went up about $896,468, which was about a 1.6% increase in assessed valuation, and that's excluding new construction, which means that our property values are going up. $918,000 was added with new construction. The recommendation this year is to decrease the tax rate. We were at 1.782 last year, and due to the assessed valuations going up, we recommend to be at 1.1591. It will levy, according to the assessed valuation, will levy about $652,000 for the city of Douglas for the year. And it would be a slight increase due to the new construction of $10,627 compared to last year. We always like to present an example of what that means for people people's taxes, and as you know, the city is only a small portion of property tax bill. It also includes the school district, the Cochise County, Cochise College. So with the assessed valuation of a $100,000 home, the property tax bill on the city portion only would be $115.91 with this proposed tax levy.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve?
Mayor, I move that Mayor and Council approve the placement of ordinance number 20-1116 on its first reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I just want to make sure the public is perfectly understanding. This may be a little bit confusing because back in July, August, when we were passing our budget, we talked about property tax and what our ceiling would be. And now that we have a formal, finalized assessed valuation from the county, which came in apparently February 10th from the backup information, now we have to make it official and lower the property tax for the city of Douglas portion. I don't know what the schools are doing or anything over there, but the city is lowering the assessed valuation. Now that can affect the individual property owner in many ways. If their property assessed valuation goes up, like Mr. Ambrices did last year, he was very happy about that. And he had to pay a little bit more, even though the tax remained the same. This year, hopefully, it went down a little bit, and therefore he will pay even less from the city portion of that. So some people may see it increase slightly, but that's check their assessed valuation because that's more than likely the reason behind that, because as was reported, the overall assessed valuation has gone up in the city. And I'm also very excited about the new construction value also. It's a very positive number. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Councilmember Morales?
Yes.
Councilmember Hewish?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tempore?
Yes. Motion passes. Item number 9.
I'm sorry. Let me just read.
Oh, yes.
Then we'll go and take also another motion for the first reading.
Thank you.
In orders of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, levying upon the assessed valuation of the property within the city of Douglas, subject to taxation, a certain rate of each $100 of valuation sufficient to raise the amount estimated to be required in the annual budget, and providing funds for the general municipal expenses, all for the fiscal year ending the 30th day of June 2021, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hewish?
I move that the mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 20-1116 and to place it on second reading by number and title only.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I apologize for levitating you to the mayor's position, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. My apologies.
That's all right.
Thank you.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
If I may, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, just to reiterate, this is not a new tax. This is the same old property tax we have, unfortunately, year after year after year. But move to another state and find how much it is.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Morales?
Yes.
Councilmember Hewish?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tempore?
Yes. Motion carries.
In orders of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, levying upon the assessed valuation of the property within the city of Douglas, subject to taxation, a certain rate of each $100 of valuation sufficient to raise the amount estimated to be required in the annual budget, and providing funds for the general municipal expenses, all for the fiscal year ending the 30th day of June 2021, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. Item number 9. Discussion decision on approval of first reading of ordinance number 20-1117, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, defining miscellaneous Title 13 fees for utility users and establishing establishing monthly sewer service fees for users of the USDA Bay Acres Sewer Project and amending ordinance number 602, 755, 794, 06-904, and 09-973. Mr. Pedrosa?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. As council's aware, we accepted a $6.8 million grant from USDA to install sanitary sewer towards Bay Acres Colonia. That was in conjunction with the expansion of our wastewater treatment plant, which we also received a $7.4 million grant to do. So those projects are working together. Within that analysis to USDA, we needed to show the financial viability of the project and calculating the appropriate fees to charge the customers. USDA worked with the city in presenting that to make sure that we charge fees that would be fair to the customers as well as maintain the system for future use. The financial analysis revealed that it's $32.02 we should be charging the residential customers and $52.03 to commercial. That is the higher than the in-city limit rate, but it is lower than the outside city limit rate. So this is a special rate that we need to approve as part of the grant agreement that we did with USDA. Certainly if Bay Acres and that area were to be annexed into the city, they would qualify for the in-city rates at that point and pay the lower fee. But since they're outside of city limits, they do need to pay a higher fee, and they have to qualify for this USDA approved rate. In your agenda packets are those rates. The commercial 2, commercial 3, and industrial rates remain the same. We just needed to adjust the residential and commercial 1 rates in order to comply with the grant agreement. We also wanted to take the opportunity to clarify some language in Title 13, which has been cause of confusion with our customers, and clarify the shut-off language and how we assess that. Currently in the code, in order to charge a turnoff on the turnoff date, or the language is not clear in stating that we can assess the turnoff fee at the date of shut-offs. It can be interpreted as saying that the fee will be assessed when the actual turnoff happens, which leaves a window of opportunity for homes to pay that day if they come real early, or to turn on their water themselves, which, as we know, is illegal for them to do that. So leaving a kind of a window of opportunity where we just want to make it clear that if the delinquent charge is not paid by that day, then you will be assessed a turnoff fee the following day, so that there isn't any window of, yes, I came in, or no, my water hasn't been shut off, so you can't charge me the turnoff fee. So the purpose is to really get those homes to not be assessed a fee, but also to be clear on the language that if you don't pay on time, there will be a turnoff fee assessed. Equally, we feel that the turnoff fee should, if you turn on your water illegally, that fee should be the same as a turnoff fee. It shouldn't be less than that. So there was, I don't know if there was just something of an error in the code, but we want to correct that to reflect that it should be $20 and not $10. That if you turn on your water illegally, it should be fair as we charge the regular turn-on fee.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Mr. Buish.
I move that the mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 20-1117 on its first reading by number and title only.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, Mr. Buish.
If I may, Mr. Pedrosa, I know the fees were determined through a future analysis, financial analysis of the future feasibility. Was it tied to the retirement of the debt out there or anything like that, which would affect the management of the enterprise fund once they were annexed?
It was tied to everything within the enterprise fund, which includes the debt service, which includes the debt that we had to incur for the wastewater treatment plant expansion. We're not incurring any debt for the Bay Acres sewer project, but encompassing a full financial analysis of the health of the sewer fund that would give these Colonia residents a fair fee, yet enough for us to raise money to keep our fund healthy.
Great, and so it will not affect the current users that are on our current wastewater system
No.
at all? Thank you.
Any other questions? I have one, Mr. Joseph. I'm just curious, when we changed all of our water meters to the electronic, are we changing them or have they been changed out there?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, they've already been changed.
Oh, they've already
yes,
been- oh.
The Bay Acres area. Yes. Right now, actually, we're almost, I want to say we're a couple hundred of residential meters. We're going to be moving to commercial size meters pretty soon.
Okay, thank you. Roll call?
Councilmember Morales?
Yes.
Councilmember Hewish?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tempore?
Yes. Motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, defining miscellaneous Title 13 fees for utility users and establishing monthly sewer service fees for uses of the USDA Bay Acres Sewer Project and amending ordinances 602, 755, 794, 06-904, and 09-973.
May I have a motion to approve the first reading?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Mr. Yurich?
move that the mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 20-1117 and to place it on second reading by number and title only.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Morales?
Yes.
Councilmember Hewish?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tempore?
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 10. Discussion decision on approval of first reading of ordinance number 20-1118, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, authorizing the partial abandonment of the southern portion of that certain right-of-way located adjacent to the port of entry on First Street, North Douglas, or in Douglas, Arizona, to the United States Customs and Border Protection and Government Services Administration, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Flores?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Members of council, this particular item is basically a continuation of the partnership that we have with GSA and CBP. There's a small area there on First Street between the compound and some private property that which commonly known as Gaitan. The issue, turns out that CBP has a parking enforcement issue, and it could potentially turn out to be a safety issue for the facility. And since they have to rely on the city to enforce the parking, they're asking that we give the southern part, which is that sliding gate that they have there to go inside their parking area for their employment and at that facility, we're going to give them the southern half of that area, which is basically about 75 foot long, and we're also going to reserve a public easement through there so that street remains open. We're doing a first reading right now, and it's designed, like I mentioned, for security purposes, so they can enforce that area, and don't want to spook you with any scenarios where you can see somebody parking something dangerous close to there, and they will have to be able to enforce that the parking area. And currently, they're not able to enforce, and they have to rely on the city enforcing that particular area. It's a small area, like I said, 70, 80 feet wide, approximately 10 to 12 feet in width.
Thank you. May I May I have a motion to approve?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Mr. Villalba?
I move that the mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 20-1118 on its first reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Mr. Yurich?
if I may, any reasoning by, if the map is accurate of what we received, of why it stops in the middle of their commercial area and doesn't extend all the way to the avenue?
Strangely enough, Councilman Hewish, they already own that part of it in front of their commercial area and in front of the ADOT area. So it's just this, like I said, it's just a sliver on the west portion of the street, and it's more or less just kind of an oddity. It dates back so far that we weren't able to find any grant documents or anything, and that's why it's described in the way it's described. Thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Morales?
Yes.
Councilmember Hewish?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tempore?
Yes. Motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, authorizing the partial abandonment of the southern portion of that certain right-of-way located adjacent to the port of entry on First Street in Douglas, Arizona, to the United States Customs and Border Protection and Government Services Administration, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Mr. Hewish?
I move that the mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 20-1118 and to place it on second reading by number and title only.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Morales?
Yes.
Councilmember Hewish?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tempore?
Yes. Motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, authorizing the partial abandonment of the southern portion of that certain right-of-way located adjacent to the port of entry on First Street in Douglas, Arizona, to the United States Customs and Border Protection and Government Services Administration, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Item 11, discussion decision on approval of resolution number 1401, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, authorizing the city of Douglas to accept grant funding and enter into grant agreement number S2B01C with the Arizona Department of Transportation for a reimbursable grant in the amount of $1,620,000 with a 10% local match for the reconstruction of runway 321 at the municipal airport under the ADOT's Airport Development Program. Mr. Perosa?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, all I will ask is to recommend to table this item as we did the contract.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Thank you, Mr. Yosh.
I move that the mayor and council table agenda item number 11 until the next possible meeting.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Morales?
Yes.
Councilmember Hewish?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tempore?
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 12, discussion decision on approval of resolution number 20-1402, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, authorizing the city of Douglas to accept grant funding and enter into a sub-grantee agreement with the state of Arizona Department of Homeland Security for a reimbursable grant fund allocation in the amount of $557,000 for personnel, overtime costs, and mileage costs under Operation Stone Garden fiscal year 2019 allocation grant program. Chief Fuller.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, this item is essentially a renewal of a continuous grant-funded program under the federal fiscal year 2019 grant cycle. This performance period runs from January 29th, 2020 through January 31st, 2021. The proposal was renewed by Lieutenant Mark Wilkinson and submitted to the Arizona Department of Homeland Security. Again, this is a multi-year grant program that we have benefited from, and we are asking that you approve this acceptance of this grant.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Mr. Hewish.
move that the mayor and council approve resolution number 20-1402.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Mr. Hewish.
Chief, how does it relate to the last few years? Is it the grant awards going up or down or remaining?
They're remaining
level?
fairly consistent in the amounts that we're receiving.
Excellent.
Roll call.
Councilmember Morales?
Yes.
Councilmember Hewish?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tempore?
Yes. Motion carries. Item 13, informational items and reports from council and future agenda item requests. Ms. Grijalva?
Oh, I wanted to make sure everybody else got their 10 because I got a whole list. First thing I want to do
Save
is
some time for me
congratulate all the candidates. I was very pleased that Douglas set an example on how politics is supposed to be. It was very civil. All the candidates were great examples, and I'd like to congratulate Mr. Valdenegro, Mrs. Morales, Mrs. Dania Acosta, and also Councilmember Hewish and Mr. Roberto Moreno for, I don't know if the word's advancing to the general election, but again, all very well deserved. I also want to thank Xenia Gonzalez. She's been working with the census. We have 2 videos out. We have one for the county that we did. Yours truly was in it. You know, no autographs right now, I guess. And also the city did one. So you know, she's really been pushing it. Don Prince has been pushing it too. Damien Dodom has been pushing it. Again, that's very important federal funding that we have been missing out. I'd also like to thank Jennifer Smith for her programs that she had with Leisure Services, Parks and Rec. I want to apologize to her publicly because I gave her my word I was going to go on one of those Fridays and I did not go. Next event, publicly I'm stating I'll go and support you, but I appreciate all the work that you do. The next items are, I'd like to direct staff for these things. Number one, and I want to give credit to the people who came up to me and brought these ideas up to me. Sarah Villalobos from Farmers brought up the idea of a she called it doggy station, you know, to have, doggy pickup bags, especially since, there might be loose dogs out in the park or, maybe people walk their dogs in the park. Maybe that's something that we could have, direct staff to find out the cost to having something like that to benefit our community. Also, Mrs. Ida Pedrego brought up the fact of it'd be a great idea to have a doggy park. We have so many parks in Douglas. Why not commit one to that and find out the cost to it? So if I could direct staff to bring up the costs. I'd also like to bring up, possibly next meeting, about changing the facade program. La Familia has asked the city to help them with their establishment. We have a facade program that the city budgets to help out the businesses on G Avenue, improve their facade, their buildings. And when we got the 3 estimates, when Peter Gardner got the 3 estimates, we've been waiting a month to approve one. And for me, telling a business that, you have to wait this long and they don't know the process either, I mean, it hurts their business. So we have to help them out as best as we can and make the process speedy. I'd also like, on G Avenue, we put we changed the parkings to diagonal parkings. If possible, I'd like to direct staff to find out the cost of putting ramps, because when I've been at the gym, I've seen people, and I've been told that people have to go, if they park in the handicap, they have to go all around to the corner. If we could have maybe a little ramp there, like other cities, to benefit those, because last thing we want is making it a dangerous situation when somebody's being pushed around the corner like that. Something that administration has, City Manager Watson brought up was also, sponsorships for programs. I don't like the idea of, picking and choosing who we are going to, give out sponsorships to. I'd like to bring up the idea of, if it's on G Avenue, if we're trying to revitalize G Avenue and there's an event going on, the city should do their part and sponsor it. It'll help out the economy. It'll help out the businesses there. I'd also like to change, for transparency reasons, the public participation in the meetings. You know, we tell people, come 5 to 10 minutes before the meeting, sign a paper. I've seen people run to the city clerk. You know, here it is, am I on time? And sometimes they are and sometimes they're not. I'd like to keep that process, but also if at the end of our discussion, before we go into a vote, if the mayor or the mayor pro tem can ask the crowd if they have a question and, you know, give them one more opportunity to, you know, raise their hand, come up and ask it, and then we can answer it for transparency purposes. Because a lot of the times when you're coming up and you're discussing something and you don't know what's being discussed beforehand, you might have questions when we're discussing it. So for the public, we should do something like that for them to better involve them. And also, you know, this has been brought up, especially on Facebook. We have had a lot of drug deaths lately, very sad situations. I think that's something, you know, I'm not, you know, saying that, I don't know what the city can do, but I think we should direct staff to find out as many resources as that we might have, you know, for rehabilitation programs, partner up with individuals who have rehabilitation programs here. I know of one individual who has Bible meetings, and, you know, if that can help individuals with their problems, I think we need to explore those options, because the presence that drugs are having on our community, it's something that we cannot ignore. It's something that we have to tackle on as best as we can with as many resources that we have. So that's all that I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bureau. I have a couple of items I wanted to notify the public about. First one is that I would like to congratulate the winners of our elections, and I look forward to working very closely with everyone, and so for the betterment of our community, and that's what we're all here for anyway. So, congratulations. I've been in contact with the American Veterans Traveling Tribute Incorporation. In 2005, I got the Vietnam Memorial Traveling Wall to visit our community, and now I've contacted this company that will produce a permanent replica 80% Vietnam traveling wall. And I'm thinking that would be a huge thing for our community. It would be here, it would be ours, it would go as coincide with the Wall of Faces. And can you imagine what kind of a draw that would be for our community? It would be the only one in the western United States. And so I can envision a lot of people saying, well, what do I do this weekend? Well, let's go to Douglas and visit the wall. So here we go. That's what I've been working on. It's doable. It's well within our means. And I just got in contact with them this weekend. And so this is the first public issue that I'm talking about. I would like to see if we could put maybe a small portion to our city budget, and there we at least have a start, and we can talk to APS and Freeport and all that stuff, and the American Legion, and I'm sure that we can raise the money to have this for the benefit of our future community. So that's what I've been working on. And hopefully I can get a little more information out as I go around and I talk to the community. Finally, do we have a coronavirus plan? We spoke about it a little bit. Ms. Watson, can you speak to that a little bit?
We are working on, we went to the public health presentation Friday at the county, and so we're working with our team. We're going to have a report on the council weekly Friday, and we'll give you the update on what the broader plan is. But yes, we're getting there.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to
Mr.
adjourn.
Nova, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did you adjourn? Did you adjourn already?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
We're about to adjourn.
I wanted to make a statement, but that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Morales. Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I did want to thank my constituents for their support, and I especially wanted to congratulate Mr. Costa, Mr. Montenegro, Mr. Mr. Huey and Mr. Moreno. I know we're going to have a runoff election, but I want my constituents to know that I really appreciate the support, and I remain committed to moving Douglas forward and working with everybody on the council. And I will continue my acknowledgement of the businesses next month. And just, again, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Morales.
We stand
Thank you.
adjourned. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
It was a pleasure. I don't know, but I can